So I have in front of me a crystal, a rock, and a stone. And I'm going to show you how to wrap each one of them, because there are some technique differences while wrapping each one of them. Like this rock, with the wire that I'm using, it would be a lot easier to wrap this rock with all the jagged edges and spots where the wire will fit in and stay perfectly, rather than this smooth polished stone, which would be very hard to have the wire stay in place while you are wrapping. Now, I just want to go over some differences and similarities between crystals, rocks, and stone, and what actually makes a rock and a stone and a crystal different from each other. Okay, so starting off with the crystal, all minerals aren't crystals, but all crystals are minerals. And what makes a crystal is the crystalline molecular structure of it that gives it this geometric pattern on every side, how it's flat, sort of like a hexagon shape. And then the end, where it is ripped off, and this is a raw crystal, it has not been tumbled or polished, it has just been broken off. And then all a stone really is are smaller pieces of rock. But stone varies with what rock you get it from. So with lime rock, you don't really use it to cut and polish. I mean, you will for roadways and building purposes, but marble rock would be the kind of rock that you would cut and put into your household and your countertops. And then stones like these, which are just pretty to look at or make necklaces out of, and they are almost always going to be polished and tumbled. And then this is a small rock. It is broken off from another one. Rocks, when you find them out in nature, they will be big and unmovable. But for wrapping purposes, I brought a small one that we can wrap and easily move. So all rocks are just very big and unmovable unless you get them smaller. Now, what we have is the wire we are going to use. This is 22.8 millimeters thick, and it's 25 yards, and this is silver. And then you have your pliers, which mine are regular needle nose pliers, and wire cutters. Mine are small, because most of the things I do with them are using tiny objects. Now you can also get nylon pliers, just for the sake of when you unravel your wire, it'll tend to be in a long loop that can be hard to straighten out, and as you're wrapping you will have kinks and nicks in it, so that for the purpose of reselling your jewelry that you want to wrap, you don't exactly want it to look like grungy and kinks and stuff and like you didn't take your time with it. So nylon wires are really good for that. Okay, so I've already pre-cut a piece of wire, and all I'm going to do is just straighten it out. Now, what you want to do is find the middle of it. Okay, so it's about shoulder length. So my middle will be a little bit past my elbow. Okay, and that's where we will cut it. Didn't quite get it. These are old wire clippers. Oh, there we go. Alright, and you will have to straighten it out again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the stone first, because it will be the hardest. So just lay it one piece of wire flat and lay the other like an X over it. Okay, so you will have an X, and I'm holding the middle part. And then all you're going to do is take the two top ones and twist them. And as you're doing that, start twisting the bottom one. So now we have a nice X that will stay. And this is what the twist looks like. Okay, and what you want to do is place your stone exactly in the middle of this, okay? So you're going to have this, just like this, and put it on top of it. And then, it doesn't matter if you start with the bottom or the top, but I'm going to start with the two top ones, and I'm going to wrap them around the top of the crystal. And as you see, it is pretty slippery, so it will be hard at first to get it to stay. But this is also where your needle nose pliers come in, and you can twist it to help make it tight. And the cool thing about using these pliers is that you do get to add loops and designs in, which I will show you. Okay, now we have the top, and it won't stay completely until you have the whole thing wrapped. So you want to take the two bottom ones and do the same thing with them and just wrap it around. I give it like 2 or 3 twists just for it to stay put. And then you're going to tighten it around it. And what also helps is this is what the back looks like where we started. And twisting that right there will also help keep the wire in place because you're just tightening the wire around it everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to do this bottom one. Twist it and make it tighter. Alright, so now it does look a little crazy. So this is where it can actually get fun because now it's all wrapped. So if you do like it like this, all you would have to do is just make a loop with these two, which I will show you in a second. But I'm going to keep wrapping it around just to make it a little more crazy design. Okay, all I'm doing is taking my bottom 2 pieces and I'm going to wrap them over the top and give it another little twist with my fingers, and then the same thing for the bottom, and I'm going to use this side and it'll come right over here. We're just going to give it 2 more twists. Now you will have a lot of wire because I like always have extra. I'd rather have extra than not enough. So we will be taking this off, or if it's frustrating you, you can just go ahead and cut it off right now. But I will keep it on. Okay, and now I'm just doing some extra tightening. Okay. And now I'm going to make a loop. So what I'm going to do is push the top, which you usually want to use the top one so that if you do make a necklace or a charm out of it, it will be hanging nicely like this. And I use my pinky, and you're just going to wrap it 2 times around. Okay, this one had enough for 3. And then all you have to do is tuck the wires in, and you will want to, the edge of these wires, sand them down, or make sure they're completely tucked into it so that it will not protrude and poke you. Okay, so here we have this, and then I'm going to give these ones one last tightening. Okay, and then I will cut. Alright, and these especially, they will be very jagged. So what I like to do is twist them and use my pliers to tuck them completely underneath the rest of the wire. That way it won't hurt you. Now I'm going to add in some loops. So right here where this wire is going, you can grab it, and all you have to do, it can be tricky with these slippery stones because it's hard to find a spot where it won't slip. Okay, here we go. And all I'm going to do is push it up a little bit And then I'm going to do the bottom one. Okay, and then on the back side, right here, you can grab this and twist it a little bit, just to make it a little bit more pretty, if you want to call it. And then I'm going to grab this middle piece and I'm going to twist it and give it a little bit more loops. And then you see how the rest of the wire will follow. So now we have these little random designs and you have a loop. So you can make it into a chain or a necklace. Okay, now we are going to use the rock. And again, I will make it shoulders length. And then just cut the wire. Okay, again, straighten it out. This one already has some kinks in it, so this will be fun to work with. Okay, cut it about halfway. Okay, straighten them out again. Make your X like this. And then twist the top 3 or 4 times. And then twist the bottom 3 or 4 times, just so it's about like half of your pinky length long. Okay. And then this is pretty big for this, so depending on how big your stone, rock, or crystal is, this twist line here will vary. So I'm going to undo it a little bit so it will fit. Perfect. Now I'm going to place it in the middle of this rock, and then again with the same technique, I'm going to wrap it around 2 or 3 times just so it's tight, and then do it to the top part too. And like I said, these wires can get in your way if they are really long, so it doesn't need to be unnecessarily long or else it'll just make it harder. Okay. And with the rock, now my wire is fitting very nicely around. It's more stable than the stone was. So I'm just going to fit it right around this target area. Now with this, I'm going to leave this very plain and simple because the rock is beautiful. As you can see, it has textures in it. So all I'm going to do now is again to the back, take the pliers right where the twist starts and just twist it with the pliers. Just twist around. Oh, that one made it looser. And you have to be careful with how tight you twist because my wire will break if I twist too tight. Okay. Now again with the top, we're just going to straighten it out. Wrap it around our pinky 2 or 3 times. Okay, just push it off. And there we are. You have your little loop. Okay, now I'm going to cut these back wires off. Okay. And my wire broke, so we can show you how to fix this. So it might get a little hard because it is very small now, so you have to be very careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fingers to wrap it around each other again, and then we will grab the pliers and very gently tighten so my wire does not break again. And then all I'm going to do with this pointy wire sticking out is fold it underneath itself. Okay. Fold, fold, fold. Alright. And this is where you can add in a little more design. So right here, I'm just going to grab the wire, and I'm going to grab it and just twist it a little bit. Again, you do have to be careful because if you twist too tight, it will break the wire. Okay, that came undone again. So we will just twist it back within itself. Alright. And for the front, I'm going to put a little mark in the wire. And with this middle piece, instead of making it a line, you can twist it like I did with the last one. So it's more of a little swirly line. Makes it a little less plain. Okay, and there we have the rock. Okay, and now the crystal. So again, same thing. This one is my favorite one to wrap because it's a nice size. It is bigger than the stone and the rock. And it's a little bit smooth, but jagged enough where the wire will stick. Should be perfect. And don't worry if you can't get your wire perfectly straight. It will be more of a challenge, but it still makes it fun. Okay. Again, X. And fold and twist. And fold and twist. This one will be longer than all the other ones because, as you can see, the crystal itself is longer. So, okay. And then by pulling these two, you can tighten it as well when you have bigger wraparounds. Okay. So, take the crystal, place it right here in the middle, and then grab these two, wrap it around, make it tight. This one I'm going to leave a little loose because I do want to add in more loops and swirls. And by doing that, it will be a little finicky because it will want to stay on because it's so loose. And then the same with the bottom one, wrapping it pretty loose and lightly. Okay. And I'm going to tighten it a little bit with my pliers. And you'll have to readjust where it's at because it'll like to move up and down the crystal. Okay. And you can just twist right here, tighten it. Okay, now when these are out of your way, I will take this side where this is, and as you can see, I'm just bending the wire lightly to make a little loop. And then you do have to be careful because if it is already tight on the crystal, the wire will break depending on how much you loop it. So for these purposes, I left it loose. As you can see, it has a lot of leeway. So now, after I made my two loops, I'm going to put one on this side. And then we will tighten it. Okay, more like a swirly line than a loop, but that's okay. Okay, and this, it will come completely undone. So, just grab your fingers, use your fingers, and tighten it, and then grab your pliers and tighten. Okay, we will need to tighten it again as we are moving it around the crystal because it won't stay. And it is hard when you do have shapes like this crystal where it's flat on each side because no matter what, the wire will not be tight on every single side because they are all flat. So it's tightened as much as it can. As you can see, it won't move, so that is perfect. And then before we tighten this back, we're going to go ahead and make some more loops in it. Okay. All you are is grabbing the wire and just twisting it. It's a pretty easy technique. Nothing crazy. And then I'm going to loosen it a little more so I can make loops on this side, because if it's too tight, it just won't work. Your pliers won't be able to grab it. Okay, and then I'm just going to push it against the crystal so it stays nice and firm. And then with this one, all I'm going to do is push it up a little bit because this one is down. And then this one, I will push down, and this side, I will push up. Okay, so now last thing is twisting it, and it's simple. You can move the crystal, you don't even have to move the pliers. Okay, so depending on whichever side you want to be the top, I'm going to use this side. So I'm just going to push these wires together, wrap it around my pinky again 3 times, push off, and then when I have this extra wire, I'm just going to cut it. And it will be harder to cut 2 wires at the same time. So it'll take a little bit of elbow grease. Alright, and then this one, simply cut. And this will be a little hard to cut through. It wasn't too hard, but because it's all twisted. And then just take the pliers and fold that piece in right there. And you can firmly push it against the crystal so it is flat. And then see, this bottom piece got a little loose. So all you have to do, just remember to be careful because you did cut the rest of the wire off. Just slowly tighten it, not too much. And then just push it back against the crystal. Okay. And there you have it. Completely wrapped crystal, stone, and rock. And wrapping crystals, stones, and rocks are great because if you do find any outside, anywhere, seashells, anything like that, you can wrap them yourself, make them into necklaces. They're great for gifts. Give them to my friends and my family all the time. They're awesome, and you get the pride of saying that you did it yourself.